Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry the music got killed really quick there. It was not a natural transition. I did not have it ready and stuff like that, but a little bit rusty. It's been a little bit since the Travis told you. I guess because it was one of those where I usually did it like every Sunday, I think, for a while. And it's like, oh, I did it on Wednesday. It feels like a longer time and stuff like that. And obviously last week I was not doing one, but because we had our busy week. But yes, I am back for another edition of Travis Told You, and my camera is fucking... There we go, a little bit better, a little to the left. I'm doing better, but as Beyonce says, right to the left. Hello, Derpy, nice to see you. Yeah, this is a late night impromptu one. That I'll have much more to talk about with that in a second. But yes, this is an impromptu one. I'm sorry to the patrons I didn't get a chance to send any questions because this was like I didn't know if it was going to happen or whatnot. Didn't have an exact date and everything like that. So in the future, that'll happen. But as usual, head down links below. Everything you need to know is there. Patreon, the website, our audio, our video, our multiple feeds, just tons of stuff going on there. A big thank you to everyone that supports us. Whatever way you're doing it, whether you're listening, whether you're watching, whether you're on the Patreon, on any feed, the $1 tier right now, you'll be voting on the Patreon, God, the Golden Geeks polls. Phase 2, the $5 tier, get episodes ad-free, early exclusive. You can call into After 9, all that good jazz. And you got a bunch of other tiers and other ones as far as voting on Patreon polls and making picks and stuff like that. So we very much appreciate that. And a big shout out to the Patreon producers. April Braden. April Braden. No, I did it twice. I keep combining them. I think because when I see the Patreon, I see the two A's together. I gotta separate it. Aaron Braden, April Darkness, and Josh Wright. Thank you very much. You get the shout outs every week for supporting us at the highest tier, and we really appreciate that. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So yes, let's start off with it, because if you look, you never know. Who knows if people see like the I don't know. With podcasts, I think most of the time I will see the headline, and then maybe I'm not pulling Taylor Field, but then I'll click and see, okay, what else are they talking about, right? And I'm not sure what people do here, this and that. I've had that before. People go, well, what's happened here? And it's like, well, just read down below. Like, some of the audio cuts out. So, like, hey, well, something happened here. Well, just read the description. It's there. But maybe not all the time. Maybe you just see it, you click download, you listen, then I appreciate you, because then you're just hitting that auto download. So we're going to be talking about some Aquaman today. Some test screenings have been going on, and this is a whole big mess of things and everything, right? So we're going to talk about that. Some Joker 2 news actually has been going around, so that's exciting. Like, I'm excited. We're starting to get like just little nuggets and everything out there, so that's a good time. And then we're going to be talking about some AEW and WWE, because we'll have Wrestlemania. There's some matches announced and stuff like that. Things getting over, and just my thoughts on Elimination Chamber, and also AEW. Are they in trouble? Last week they had a massive Rampage, massive ratings drop, and obviously there's many dialogues as far as this is why it's really bad, and this is why it's all right, and this is why it doesn't even matter, like all these things. And just to talk about overall, because I feel like I haven't touched base on AEW a little bit. So, but I listed all in the show notes. There's another one I listed, the status of Travis Told You. Now, I know, because I hate this when I'm a listener, and I appreciate each and every one of you that that does listen. Whenever I see that, and I see someone like, oh, it's very coy, or just like it's just a statement out of nowhere, because it's not like I've been saying a bunch of stuff, and then there's a statement like, oh, he's updating. It's just like, why is there a status update? Okay. To cut to the chase very quickly, the show will likely go on a hiatus or a limited run until about May. Now, it sounds a long time, but it's really not. That's 2 months, right? The reason is because we have lots of things going on. I'm going to break it down, but because even stuff like this, where even as far as me getting the topics of the patrons, they're not always like some patrons, sometimes we get questions, sometimes we don't, but I always like to give the opportunity, right? I still even like to say, hey, I'm going to be live at this time for live viewers and things like that. Obviously, I think even the past little bit, you've seen what Travis told you, even when I go back to work the day job, it's been kind of all over, right? I work later hours now, stuff like that. I'm hoping in the new year, I'm hoping later on in the year it'll change, and I'm going to be starting work from home, so that'll change some things, but still, it's like one of those things, Derpy months with the crying face emoji. Now, yes, and Derpy, I'll address your question there in a second about Aquaman once I get to that. Yeah, so just the reason is because, so there's two things with this, and this is the good thing and bad thing, where obviously I talked about last year where my plan originally was I was going to be doing this part-time, like podcasting and stuff like that. But then I got a good opportunity in the day job, something that can help me down the road, adult job and stuff like that. And there will be opportunities in the future for me to probably take a lighter schedule, but at the same time, the same reason with my schedule, I have to work these certain hours, certain times, things like that. Kind of, you kind of gotta earn your keep there. Like when you're the new person, you've been like promoted to this other thing. When you got a credit card that has a $10 million limit, you have to earn those things and stuff like that, right? So you gotta earn trust and show you can work and everything. So that's the thing, and I like my job a lot. Thank goodness. Like it's not. I've liked all my job where I am with the interior health here in the government, and then I'm not trying to be a stooge or anything, but like this is the one I like the most. So I'm very happy all around. So it's just the thing that it does get in the way. And as we've said before, that the podcast, Patreon, the ad revenue and stuff like that, that creates opportunities for us to do all these other things, right? But now to the point where Travis told you with these next 2 months, and it's only 2 months, and there's going to be other times we'll pop up and maybe do mini episodes. So I'll explain that in a second. But it's to that point where it doesn't matter. The only thing that would matter financially is if I would not be doing my job, like if I cover that. And this is not me trying to be, because I hate when podcasts do that and stuff like that. But because this would be like, I can't do it, but here's a link and then I could. No, you can support us by listening, Patreon. You know the deal. It's a thing that legitimately I'd have to be making another level of money to be able to carve out the time, because the only thing that I'd have to drop is the daytime job. And I can't do that right now, as far as the fact of I've just got there for 2 months, fine enough 2 months. And the fact that, I make a good, I'm very happy with what I make there and stuff like that. It take a big slash out of my, single Travis and stuff like that. Like I always said, I wonder what my life would have been like, as far as not, I don't want to do the like without Emily and the kids, just like if I would have started the podcast when I was single, because that would have been all the time in the world. But now I got lots to juggle and stuff like that. Travis, you better treat us with a twerk for the stream for goodbye. 2 months is too long. No, that maybe charity stream, and I'll get next charity stream. Derpy, you donate $5 or something like that to the BC Children's Hospital in November when that comes up. I'll do it then. 2 months, you won't miss me, because the thing is, I'm going to be on a bunch of casts, and that's why the other thing is because. So just to update you with this. Trust told you, I think my plan is, so this is not exactly like the last one, but it's like the last one of this show. And as people have seen with like how we do with the cutouts and stuff like that, which again, I thank you everybody on the surveys that were like, oh yeah, I like those cutouts at work because I don't listen to the whole show all the time. That takes a lot of time to edit. When I do just let's say if it's one topic, let's say it's just like, I'm going to talk about grape juice today. I upload that, that's done, add our ad breaks, edit a little things, stuff like that. But the cutouts, that's where it's like, that's 5 separate like editing, that's 5 separate uploads. It really kind of winds up the time eventually, right? So that's why the times that you will see me doing a Trash Told You, that's why it's not going to be completely gone. Maybe there'll be emergency ones sometimes, or maybe there will be something like if I'm sick or there's a day off, or even one of like the holidays and stuff like that. If it works out, then it might happen. So I'm not saying it's like, oh, for sure, but I'm saying just expect it for the next 2 months to maybe be a bit quieter. The ones I am going to be hitting though are just because I think that they're specific to Travis, is I will be doing an Oscars prediction show. I think I'll recap the winners. I haven't decided yet. I might just make that a segment on GeekVerse News if it's smaller, if I don't have much to say and stuff like that. But the Oscars, there will be some coverage of that. So at least the predictions, I'll be doing that. And that's the same thing. That's one episode, predictions, no cutouts, a bit shorter, because usually these go about 1.5 to 2 hours. And then by the time you edit, upload, promote, that's usually like another 2 hours. So it's about a 4-hour thing. And I know people might not think that, but that's how it goes, because like even the prep time before. So, and then the other ones sorry everyone else, for wrestling fans, I'll definitely have to cover Wrestlemania. Wrestlemania night 1 and night 2, because I've done that before, even before Trash told you, that's my big deal and stuff like that. So I love wrestling. And maybe the AEW pay-per-view, we'll talk about that in a second, but I don't know if there'll be anything I need to talk about, even though I'm very excited for some certain matches. So, and just to break it down, because I don't want to be like a woe is me and like, oh, you go, and even then, we did it in August, and then I've been doing it pretty much weekly, sometimes double weeks, but there's been times where I've missed, right? But let's say August, September, October, November, December, January, so into February with missing some weeks. So it's almost, geez Louise, it's almost like been half a year. So I'm pretty happy with myself. And I think people, if you are patrons, I was talking about this on Patreon at one point. I think it was early January. I thought about just canceling this show because I like doing it and I want to do it. And the biggest thing that I've been happy about is there's times that people listen to it and it's doing just as well, if not better, than GeekVerse News or main episodes. It's not like the big reviews and stuff, but the news, that's where it's like, okay, I'm pretty happy with that, because that's just people are listening to, what I think. So I really appreciate that. And that means the most to me, as far as like, overall the whole support does. But with the solo show, it's like, okay, cool. People at least care enough to check out my solo venture. So I appreciate that. So I never wanted to do that. That was just like a pressure cooker. You can go back to that episode where it's like, there's just so much going on. And that's where it is right now, where so I looked at my schedule, and I'm going to talk about a few life things and stuff like that. So if you're here just for the news, maybe skip about another 10 minutes so, because this is my show, and I want people that do listen to understand that's not just like a flip of the, oh, whatever, I'm done with that. Because do plan, and it's funny because I look at the calendar in May, and it is like a smaller month for us. I'm like, okay, that's a perfect time and stuff like that. So the two things that really factored into this decision is like next month, and this is literally where it comes down to, where things like Mando coming back, things like having Scream in 65 the same day, etc., all that type of stuff. I'm doing a minimum right now of 22 casts in March. That's a minimum. That's not counting for if there's emergency casts. That's not counting for if someone's sick on a weekly geek or a side quest where I got to step in, which happens, right? So 22. And this is where, so out of the days, and it doesn't take a whole day, and I'm not always editing, but still, just to put it in perspective, 31 days a month, that's 70%, or sorry, 71%. 71% of the days I would be podcasting in March. And that's where it gets very tricky, because if you were to do two more of those, which is something I'm going to talk about my next point of a project we're working on, I get up to 77%. Okay. And those other two projects are unpaid. So those are very difficult, where like in the past, we could add on these shows because you guys support the show and sponsors or Patreon, stuff like that. We can find the time. These other two projects, they're completely free. They're passion projects, which we'll talk about in a second, but that's a bit harder. But let's say I do those things, and those are two things I have to do. So I'm really at 77% of doing GeekVerse related stuff for the month already. Even if I do two bi-weekly Trash Told You, I'm at 83%, and if I stick with the schedule of doing a weekly Trash Told You, I'm at 90%. For March, I'm casting 90% of the days in March, and that's where it's like, it's just too much for me to balance life-wise, this project-wise, job-wise, and most importantly, the family-wise. And people know that. Like, I love spend time. I love even, make sure I can get some sleep and stuff like that. But that's the biggest thing, where what do I got to cut into? And it'd be different if we weren't doing so many casts, right? Like, you're still going to hear from me 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes with Last of Us and Mando and all this stuff, right? So that's where it's like, the busy months, it's kind of tough because, well, the times where it's like, well, I'm not on Weekly Geek, and that's why I do that, because I go, okay, well, that's my break, and then I do Trash Told You. That doesn't happen anymore because the other cast, and I want to be on them and talk with the guys and stuff like that. So that's one. And the second one is, and I think this is the one that's the most important, because this I could probably put up and go, okay, I can buckle down. These 2 months are busy, whatever, I'll do it. The biggest thing is, we've talked about this many times, and I don't really like talking about this because I just feel like it's a jinx. We jinxed it last time. I even warned Taylor about this, like, don't say anything, you jinx it and everything. So, and like, this is going into like, we for many years, people know this, we always hint about this, and this is not to jinx it. Watch, something will break, this camera break, stuff like that. Our plan is, we were very like, we love movies, and we were very passionate about what we like and stuff like that, and we've always joked about wanting to do stuff like that, right? And we've done things like Gauntlet, and we've done things like the wrestling match and stuff like that, and we've done other little videos, but those are the two primarily where I feel like we love doing those things. Obviously, Gauntlet ended because it was one of these things where, hey, it just was too hard to do with the time and the money and stuff like that. It was just even myself on the editing. It's like, I didn't have time to edit those videos. That's why we did those live streams. And even then, I was not too happy with it, because I didn't like, I like the live stream Gauntlet sometimes, but not for the whole product. And I don't like putting out inferior products. That's part of me where I was happy ending it, because would love to bring it back one day, but it has to be tip top, right? So with this, that's our plan. That, like, legitimately, I can reveal to you now that we are shooting. Oh, fingers crossed, everything go, because it's shooting. We have 2 days. We have 5 shoot days. We have 2 days that are literally, it's next Sunday and the Sunday after. Again, if everything goes right, I'll stop saying that. I'm just jinxing myself. But the next 2 Sundays, we're just together. It's me, Kirklin, Taylor, and there'll be other people involved in the film, but we're just gonna be, I don't know, 12 plus hours shooting something. And then there's 3 other days that are for some other pickup scenes and stuff like that, and some other locations. Don't reveal what it is yet. Don't want to get that too arrogant. Like, this is what it is. Because I had said this before, where Taylor, when he was doing his Assassin's Creed Facebook page a lot, he wanted to do a short film. He announced, I said, I don't do that. Don't announce it before it's done, because you're going to get people excited for nothing. And then he never got around to doing it. And the same thing for podcasting for Murder. That's a movie that is still in development. A movie that we want to make one day, but that was something where that was in the middle of COVID. But that's when we start talking about like, hey, we're gonna shoot this thing, and we've shot. People have seen like you've seen the little teaser. We've shot the opening of the movie, and I hope we can still use that one day. Might have to reshoot it or something like that. But same thing. We announced it because we were excited. That's something we want to do. That's something we all kind of have fun. And anytime we've done some of these gauntlets and the wrestling matches, stuff like that, when we film stuff, and I imagine the bloopers reel will be great for these, we always have a good time. And I feel like every time we do those, we always go, man, imagine when we get to go to that point. And with podcasting, I mean, Murray, I think we just announced because we're excited. And also, we've said before in the town halls, we were doing well with the podcast, but we announced it because like, okay, well, we have time. We want to do other things else. And then literally the two things happened. One, COVID happened. So that delayed it. And that was the thing where it delayed it to the point where we couldn't be doing this film had bigger groups of people. These other films that are a bit more secluded, and funny enough, we're out of the COVID kind of, but they're secluded by themselves and stuff like that. Um, it's one of these things where that film had so much people together and we were allowed to do that and everything, right? So I one day hopefully it'll happen, because what happened is COVID happened, and then by the time it was done, three main people left. Dylan, not left, but moved. Dylan moved, Connor moved, Briggs moved, and Jessica obviously has two children now, which we can still work around, but it's a lot harder now, right? So that was one of these things where it was tough to get through. So that will one day be made. There's that poster. One day we will make it, but we're working on the other two. And the other thing is the biggest thing is why, because you might be like, oh, why specifically now? People, we talked about it on After Nine. You've seen Taylor's Twitter, his Facebook, stuff like that. He is expecting his first child. He's having a baby girl and stuff like that. It's a big congratulations to those two. I'm very excited for them to enter into parenthood and whatnot. But he's very much on a limit with his life and job, and not like his job's in peril, but just like there's certain times where even if he maybe he's talking about if he moves or something like that, there's two things with both these films, and he's very key to them because we've worked on these ideas together and stuff like that, right? So that's the thing where it goes, okay, we got to get this done. we like legitimately got to do this if we have any shot and stuff like that. And then so that's what's gonna happen and everything like that. You know, it's I'm very excited, very nervous. I'm hopefully get this done the first, and this is how ambitious we're being. We're trying to do two of them in the next 3 months and stuff like that. One script is done, finally got that done, because I just always go back and forth. Oh, change this and this, and I feel confident, but I always go, "Is this better version?" Stuff like that. And the other script, which I don't want to reveal any of them. I think people on After Nine know some ideas. We've talked about it. I'm getting close to that one being done, but now I got the fire in me. So that's why I need to. I have March and April to get these projects done with these guys for the most part. There's other things like the stuff without Taylor, good things like okay, but with Taylor and things like that, and even then he's about to have a baby. If that changes life, changes the dynamic, I don't want to take any him away from that situation. So that's why it's like let's get this all done before you make that step and everything. So, and all done meaning the shooting of it, the editing, things like that. If we, and again, people might go, oh, what's your plan with these? That's the whole unknown. Sure, we'll try to put in a couple like festivals or something like that. Doubt they'll go anywhere because it's us. We're making it for us, and we're making it hopefully for you guys to enjoy too. There'll be, I don't know, we haven't decided the release if we don't do anything, if we do like a Patreon thing, if we do like a Venmo and stuff like that. That's a whole uncharted territory. The first step is just making it. So that's why is how many casts I'm doing next month. And honestly, is like I said, it just I need that extra time. I need, when I talk about this episode being 2 hours and 2 hours of prep and editing, I need those 4 hours. I need those back to write, do things and everything like that. So hopefully it'll pay off in the long run, and you guys will like what we make, or there'll be shit and you'll be like, you shouldn't have just stopped. Travis told you should should have said shit to that. But that's the plan. So that's why it's going somewhere and everything like that. So I will, like I said, you're going to still hear me around cast. Still going to hear Travis told you. You're going to get a couple episodes. I think if I do those Oscar ones and WrestleMania, that's about like 2 to 3 and stuff like that, which I know won't interest everybody. But yeah, that's just the plan. And that's the plan, is to come back in May strong weekly. And if there's a chance where, hey, I come back or filming's been pushed back or something like that, and it might be, I will say, okay, it's going to be 2 months or it's going to be 2, bi-weekly and stuff like that. The plan's going to get back to weekly. I like doing this show. It's a fun time. I like kind of corresponding with people. I like getting able to rant and stuff like that. And as always, I like to give you guys a little behind the scenes. That's what's happening. We're trying to make some movies, and we're trying to have some fun while doing it. I think we're gonna. This first one is pretty. It's pretty interesting. I'm very excited. There's just certain things that. This one is interesting, and then the second one's just the second one's bad shit. That's all I can say, and I don't even want to say what they are inspired by. And again, another reason to join the Patreon is, I think for updates, some behind the scenes for patrons, stuff like that, I think we'll probably do that at the producer tier, because we'll probably put some in where you're producing or literally helping us produce these films and stuff like that. We don't want to be tweeting these things out publicly, because one, if there's any chance of this going anywhere, you kind of have to keep that to yourself, and two, it's also just we don't want to tease anything till it's done. But you guys, you can watch us crash and burn if it happens. So there you go. That's my opening. That's the status of it. Gonna be on a little hiatus for a couple months. You still will get a random episode here and there. I love each and every one of you that have supported this, and good night. No, I'm joking. Let's talk about the tops, everything like that. I know that people are like, oh, I just tuned in for the news. Even Derpy, look at him. Travis, it's 2 a.m, brother. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but Aquaman, hey, there's a download button in the morning. I'm not gonna cut the people short, because I hate that when people like, oh yeah, it's on hiatus because just because I think our policy has been we're open and honest as much as possible with everybody, and that's why it's very busy, and we got other projects going on. Again, it's still like GeekVerse related. That's the thing where it's not like, oh well, I'm spending my time at another podcast. I feel like that's the 2 excuses people are gonna accept, and people like, and not excuses, but the reasons, as far as my family, which is usually the main reason, and 2, it's like, oh, okay, you're stopping podcasts, but you're making us another form of content, which hopefully, I think if you like all our, weird stuff and everything like that, then you'll probably like what we do with those. We'll see. It's venturing, but I don't have YouTube Premium and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know if we'll do. If you're talking about that YouTube Premium, I don't know. That's a long ways away. Again, that we have many other things to do and goals the other time. But yeah, we'll take our first ad break right now, and then let's get into some actual news here. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Maybe when I'm back, I'll find an actual table for the, everything like that. Derby said, I meant for download. Just go to. We're a podcast, sir. We got. If people don't understand that's why, I get it. I understand if you're a weekly listener, you skip the links and everything like that, and stuff like that. What was I gonna say? Download it. Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast. Like, there's tons of podcasts. I know you might like the video versions better, so that's fine. But you got audio. You can go on the go and stuff like that. Super Bad Mike says, hopefully the GV movie tests better than Aquaman 2. Oh, I doubt it. You're going to be talking to a couple of rooks. I have been through, I'm like, I guess a little less rookie and stuff like that. But I've said this notoriously, where podcasts can be murdered. That's the one movie where we shot an opening and COVID happened. That was dead. And then I had another movie that was filmed like right after high school, but I'm happy probably didn't go anywhere. But still, I actually would have liked to seen it. Kyle was a part of it, but same thing. Because of after school, people moved and you lost half the cast. It's like, fuck. And how do you do that, right? Because it's like, well, people aren't being paid to be here and stuff like that. But luckily, I got a good crew here and we're going to have some fun. But no, I imagine, I even say this to Emily. I'm like, I don't think you're going to like my movies. Like, especially our second one, it's very A24, like, probably not that weird, but that's what we like. We're going to make some weird stuff, I think, and everything like that. Travis twerking, radically amazing, valiant, inspiring, smexy. Yeah, I just wrote a poem about your name. That's, you know what? I don't think I've had many poems written about me, so there you go, Derpy. You can have that credit. But Aquaman 2, Super Bad Mike, good to see you as well here for the late night. It's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., some people's times, everything like that. But yeah, so Aquaman 2. So this happened this week, and I feel like, so Viewer Non kind of broke the floodgates, right? And I can't remember the initial comment, and I don't really have to, because they're all kind of variations of the same story. But he had just opened it up saying, hey, it's not good. I guess maybe I can find the actual one and stuff like that. But just like saying, the reason they haven't been like saying or answering many questions about Aquaman 2 is because they're not hearing good things about it and everything, right? And that created Film Odyssey. That created I can't remember who was the other one too. I think it was maybe Casey Walsh, but just like created a plethora of people just say, oh, big screen leaks. That was the other one that started out that really, like, I feel like those two talking led to bad things happening, right? As far as just like what the hell is their Twitter handle? Is it BSL? Oh, jeez Louise, I get it, but I just want to get the exact quotes because people may have not heard this. So these are all coming from C to C plus tier scoopers. One is a B scooper that's putting this out, and another one I feel like has like enough of it. But here's you go. There's a reason this was a big screen leads. There's a reason I've been avoiding any questions about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. But since Viranon put it out there, it brings me no joy to back him up and tell him that test screenings of the film have not been good. Really hoping Juan fixes the issues before the movie in December. I heard something that almost never happened. Test screenings happen with this movie. They're really going to need to fix this one and fix it fast. So there's that. And then I think it was My Time to Shine or something like that had insinuated that the thing that has happened that usually doesn't happen in test screenings is someone walked out. And obviously, that usually probably doesn't happen because a lot of times when you test screen, you might be pulling random people and they're seeing this, movie a year out and how exciting, right? Even if it's bad, how exciting. And no, and that's the thing. So that happened, and then today Campio reported on it as well, and he talked about that he heard similar things from people, and he's a guy that similar to me says like you can't trust the test screens, but he had heard from people saying, hey, it's not looking great, it's kind of disappointing. Jeff Snyder, which I put like the high C plus B tier, something like that. He had said, and this is where at the end of the thing, he said, hey, the first movie wasn't good, not surprised. And I'll get into that in a second, but he had heard that that's part of the reason why the Lobo chatter has gone around is because this movie's so bad, they don't expect to do that well, and they could easily just move him from Aquaman to Lobo. And so here's the thing, and yes, Derpy, let me look at your comment here before I continue, because it is far up, so I will say it. So Warner Brothers is rallying Jason Momoa's powers of Aquaman by calling upon world activists, lust similar Aquaman, calling upon fish oceans of the deep. JK for a laugh. That's quite a paragraph there, Derpy. What I was going to say is, so to start off, test screenings can mean nothing, right? I remember the BVS test screenings, that same thing. It's funny that Flash is coming up. People compared it to BVS. They're like, they compared BVS to BVS. They compared it to the Dark Knight. They went, oh, it's Dark Knight level. And then when that came out, clearly for the world, it wasn't that way. For me, it's not that way. For many others, whatever you think about that as far as reception wise, it did not get the big thing for DC. And now the Flash is getting that. And it's interesting because The Flash is premiering at CinemaCon in April now. So it's going to be 6 weeks out until people are going to see it at CinemaCon. And they're going to be distributors. Oh my God. Exhibitioners. Distributors. Oh my God. Distributor. Oh my God. I want to say it. Let me pull it up here. I'm having distributors as I'm right now. There you go. That's why Trash totally should end right there. You know what? Just gonna end it. Throw the starting soon up there. But anyway, so reviewers, stuff like that. So people that aren't probably gonna be like recording the screen and going, oh hey, and posting like, look at this scene from Aquaman or Flash, blah blah blah. But still, it's two things where big confidence, 6 weeks out, that's great. That does show me okay. Warner Brothers believes in the Flash. They've said this before. They gave the Super Bowl spot. Lots of good word from people in the inside. And that has the exact opposite reaction of what we're hearing for this one, right? And 6 weeks out is fantastic, But I will say for people in the Marvel film, Marvel DC film Twitter community, mute, but also if you mute, it's going to be tough because I know people go, oh, we don't know what's the story. It's still, we don't know exactly lots of beats, and we don't know exactly some certain points or some scenes. I don't want to get spoiled. I don't want people to talk about things over and over and things like that. Good thing is for me, I'm like on Twitter a lot less than I used to be. As I've said, I have notifications on for certain accounts. So when they tweet, I can just go to them and say, oh, that's what it is. But it's those times where I might be bored at work, on the bus, I'm scrolling through and go, oh, see that shit, stuff like that. So obviously, be careful. That's going to be happening in April, so look out for that. But still, we're going to get good word of mouth. Hopefully, that's what they're hoping, word of mouth come April. We're Aquaman now. It's the reverse, right? And it's interesting because they've done this film, and it's been through already so much, right? Where they've done this film, they had screenings, and people had said like the screenings before had gone better. So I wonder if they might revert back that, which just can happen. I can't remember. Oh, what movie? Oh, shit. There was a movie. I can't remember what it was. Oh, there's a movie that was it was something I just watched recently too. Either way, and some might know, but there's a movie that Weinstein brought it back in the day, good old Harvey Weinstein, and the person did not want them to. They were so disappointed that they did, and because they had a reputation for like editing the shit out of movies, right? And they were like, "How do I do this? How do I fight?" And they called Tom Cruise, and I can't remember who it was. I'm so mad, but he said, "Well, just let him play it. Let him play it. Let him show it like that, and see what happens." And the good thing that worked out for them was the test screening or the thoughts were so much better for the untouched one, and then when they got the edited one, they're like, "Oh shit, what do we do?" And they're like, "Well, we already got that old one ready to go." And you know what? Yeah, use that. And then it ended up being a great film. It's some great film store, and I can't remember what it is. I feel like it's just talking about this. So either way, and Derby Game, no. Ant-Man the Wasp might have killed comic book films to a degree. Absolutely not. If like, it opened 30 million more than the last one. And like yeah, that I don't agree with at all. I don't think Ant-Man has anything to do with Aquaman, Flash, Guardians. I think all those will do fine or bad on their own. And even then, like, so much of my timeline is mixed, but it's mixed as far as like lots of people still really liked it and everything like that, right? So I don't think it's one of those things where that's a situation. Ant-Man and the Wasp has nothing to do with, I think, the superhero genre. If you get a bunch of films that are bad, like if every single comic book film year is bad, then yes, but that's where I'd say it's a whole team effort. It's not just one film, because you have films like, to me, that are like Venom that are really bad, but they make tons of money. Transformers make lots of money. So I know you said to a degree, but I don't think at all. I really don't. I think it would have to take 2 to 3 years of bad comic book movies. And for Marvel, I feel like, as we said on, I guess I was on the vodka stream last week, I said it would take like an Avengers movie to be really bad to take MCU down, I think. So with this, we had, apparently the film tested good to all right, and then we're going to do some reshoots. Apparently reshoots are, not good. Whatever they've changed, and they reshoot it and then they re-edited. Not good. Not people liking it. And then people had said like, hey, and again, and Turby said Phase 4. I don't know. I push back against anybody that says this. No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision. These are like massive hits, and then lots of the other movies you might not like them, but they're like mixed with people that some people really like them, some people don't. Right? There's tons of people I know that like Black Widow. I'm not one of them that like loves it, but I like it enough. So I don't think it had a string of that being that bad. When you have $1 billion, when the first $1 billion film was in your Phase 4. No, you're fine. Even the Multiverse of Madness, 900 million. No, Phase 4 is nowhere near. Phase 4 is just a disappointment for people that are disappointed by it. If they're talking about like fan reception, like GA, and they're talking about box office, no. And same thing, Derpy. This is what you're saying. Multiverse of Madness was disappointing. That's just purely your opinion and what you think about, which is fine. But when you're talking about like what is it on the greater MCU, almost $1 billion movie. Not at all. Not at all. Like, Phase 4 is not at all disappointment. It has so many hits and so many good things about it as far as just business-wise. Not even talking about the critical or you or me liking it and stuff like that, right? Because for me, I have Eternals, which is like bottom tier MCU, but it didn't take down the MCU or the comic book genre, right? And neither will Aquaman 2 if it's like this. That's the thing where, and the other thing people have said, which I had already said this, I don't think it's much as a scoop, but I had said this on this, on Vlog and a couple other places where I said, I guarantee you both those Bruce scenes, because remember, they shot one with Keaton, then they did reshoots, and they shot one with Affleck, and the word is those aren't in there anymore. And I had hashtag Travis told you, I had said that's not going to be the case because so much is changing, right? So here's the thing, and I'll use Jeff Snyder's tweet as an opinion, or as a example here. He went his last thing when he said, hey, people are saying it's bad, that's why the Lobos thing being talked about, and he said, the first one was bad, so no surprise here with this. That's where it comes down to, Ray, my friend from Vodka Stream. It's all subjective, right? And I feel like I've said this and before, but now it's just because I know Ray. It's like this. I just think of him now when I say it. But I had said this. There's recorded proof of me saying this on the podcast stream. Maybe I would just say it's subjective, but I'll give him the credit here. Snyder thought the first one was awful. Okay, let's say the second one is the same quality as the first one. The first one, whatever you think about the quality of the movie, made $1 billion. Who's to say the general audience, who are the people that push these movies forward, that go see these movies more than us, as far as I guess we could see them, but I mean, like, they're the ones that have to drive it. Who says they see Aquaman 2 and whatever they think about it, they like it enough to go see it again, recommend it to a friend, whatever it may be? the quality, that's all wholly subjective, right? And even with these test screenings now, if people could legitimately, if this is true, and say, hey, at test screenings, people usually don't walk out, and someone walked out, that's bad. Now, of course, you could say, hey, there could be an ample amount of reasons, but let's say they did walk out as film quality. Yeah, that's not good, but that's just someone's opinion. There's tons of movies that people have probably walked out when you would hear about it, you go, I love it. Think about all the horror movies in the day that are too gross or too experimental or too frightening, and you'd watch it, fuck, I love this movie. Like, I'm not saying they walked it out Aquaman because that maybe was too scary on a quality standpoint, but the thing is, the test screen thing, it is just so subjective. Now, the bad thing is that so many people are saying it. So that's where it's tough. But again, look at Ant-Man in the Quantumania, right? Ant-Man the Quantumania. It should be that because Wasp isn't really in it. There's tons of people. There's even tons of people that I feel like that are usually not the biggest MCU fans that are liking that movie, right? I did not. I failed it on the review. It's two different sides of the coin. So if I would have been a test screen for Ant-Man and the Wasp, I would have came out saying, and let's say I was the only person to scoop and say something, worst MCU movie. First time I had to fail MCU movie. I didn't like this and this and this and this. You go like, man, that's really bad. But then there's a whole plethora of other people that think the opposite of me and like it. And even if it's just a small pass, it's a pass, right? So with test screenings, it can go anyway. So to me, the sky isn't falling because it's so tough for me to buy James Wan making a really bad movie. Chris Evans, I liked Ant-Man. Hey, by the way. Yeah, no, I saw Chris. And that's the fine thing. Like, and again, I don't, as I've said, if you'll listen to the review, as I got some I don't think it's one of these movies that I don't get why people like. I get why people like it. I think there's other movies in the world where if you talk about, for me, Suicide Squad 2016 is one of those movies. I don't get how I think I can understand you could like aspects, how I like Margot in that movie, but like, I don't understand how people like that movie. But again, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna be like Suicide Squad, so I'm taking your fan card. No, they're just movies. It's like food. Who really cares, right? It's all for fun and stuff like that. So it was a GA magnet, says Superbad Mike. I don't think Aquaman 1 became the highest grossing DC movie based on its quality. And that's the thing. I see so many people online, in person, the letterbox. I rarely find people that are ranking this movie as number one on their DCU list, right? But it doesn't matter. And rarely do I see people talking about in the top 10 comic book movies that they've watched. Doesn't matter. It made $1 billion. And like Superbad Mike said, became the biggest DC movie. Bigger than Batman, bigger than Justice League, Wonder Woman, Joker 2, Radar, stuff like that. The Batman. Aquaman holds that crown. And people will still want to see more. Again, it's in that December slot unless something happens that they feel like got pushed back. And honestly, they could. I don't think they will. But think about it, they could push back because they already have 4 movies this year. And next year is rumored that they just have Joker 2. Maybe some TV shows, but just Joker 2 on the movie front. You could easily push Aquaman 2 back. And now you got what? 2 DC movies next year, right? So I think that if that gets pushed back, then I'll go, okay, maybe it is pretty severe. But this happens a lot of time in Hollywood where, there's a bunch of bad word and it happens. And even then, let's say it comes out and sucks. In my opinion, here's another one. Some of those later Transformers movies, I've not even seen them all, but I've seen enough of them on TV or something like that. Go, how do people watch these? I don't understand. And then people come to the theaters always tell me, yeah, these are awful, but I'll go back to see the next one, right? So that's the thing where Transformer movies for years, probably half a decade, would put out what I would consider just like blockbuster garbage and just print out $1 billion. Maybe Aquaman 2 is blockbuster garbage, but if it makes $1 billion, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. And it's that December slot. That is like a prime time slot for movies now. Force Awakens started it and everything else since then. No Way Home, Avatar. I feel like there's something. Aquaman. Right, that's the other one. Aquaman, like, they've proven you put a movie in there and it at least people like it enough. It finds an audience, it'll make money. I'm not saying that this will for sure hit $1 billion or for sure pass the first one, become the biggest DC movie. No, I'm not going to. But you never know. I thought that with Avatar. I thought Avatar would do well. I thought it would hit $1 billion, make its profit, everything like that. But I was like, it's not going to do what Avatar 1 did. And to me, it did. It's the 3rd biggest movie of all time. I know someone might be like, well, it didn't beat the first. Doesn't matter. It's the 3rd biggest movie of all time. It did it. It James Cameron fucking did it. He's a magician, right? So same thing. And I don't get it. I really don't. And it's not, I'm not trying to be that argument where people all the time argue like, well, Avatar's not really in the culture zeitgeist. I maybe was one of those people that said that before Avatar 2 of like, yeah, I don't hear people talk about, don't see Halloween costumes. Like, you just don't, It's just not around like other franchises, right? But now after the second one, I can't say shit. I can't say shit because Avatar fucking 1 is the biggest movie of all time, and Avatar 2 is the third biggest, and they're all like making two, almost 3. Oh, I think this first one's at 3 billion. This is like what, 2 billion something or whatever it is, right? So it doesn't matter. There are people, and I don't know, like, and the people I know that saw it, like, not counting the podcast people, weren't fans of it, and most people I know didn't. They're like, the first one's meh. I'll see this maybe at some point. And they still haven't. Doesn't matter. People are going to see it. They're going to see it again. Same thing with Aquaman. So these test screenings, one, as usual, make up your own mind. Wait to see it. And that's my toughest pill to swallow is the James Wan of it all. I I like all James Wan's films. I think they're all good to great to fucking magnificent. It's hard for me to believe either version is bad with James Wan in there, right? And maybe it's something where, like, yeah, the people that are screaming against it aren't liking it, but look at something like Blade Runner. Now, I'm not saying Aquaman 2 is going to be Blade Runner, but that movie bombed and did not find an audience with the general audience. Did not find a base with the general audience, I'll say that. But then more people picked it up, became a cult following. Still a good movie. You could say, or something like The Shining too, which I think is a great movie, got very bad reviews, So that's the thing where maybe these people are thinking it's bad reviews, but comes out and it finds its audience, and maybe that's the general audience, right? And like I said, with James Wan, it's tough. He was doing Fury 7, that's what I called it. They lose Paul Walker in the middle of production, and he still has to make a movie. And he made a movie to me that was serviceable, even more than that good. Yeah, I that's the thing where it's tough for me. I can believe that all these people are hearing these things. I'm not calling them out. I'm just saying that that's what they're hearing. It's just hard for me to believe that that was the thing where it was described as the worst DCU movie. One, there's no fucking way. There's no way with Justice League and Suicide Squad 2016 that it is a thing. There's no way, in my opinion. Second, it's not so much about the quality as far as, like, one, decide for yourself, and two, just even if it's bad, doesn't guarantee it's like a bomb or doesn't make the money, right? The other thing is that Juan has he signed that that partnership with someone with Blumhouse where he had like his Monsters production movie and they're gonna make movies together. One, I'm interested for his next movie, but two, it sucks for James Wan, and I'm sure that he knows what he signs up for. But you look at this where it's like, okay, you shoot this movie, okay, put this Batman in. Okay, no, put this Batman in. Okay. Go reshoot it a bunch. They reshoot it. They do this screening version. And now you know what? This one isn't really working. Re-edit this. Redo this, stuff like that, right? I just feel like he's getting pulled in so many different directions. And I feel like as a director, maybe he's fine. He's signed up for that and he's sweating at the 3-point line and he loves the game, right? But it just feels like from these reports, one thing we can tell is this movie's getting fucked and tinkered with a lot, and it just is it gonna be that point where the guy might just feel, I hate this thing in the movie I wanted to make anymore. It's just like I had to do because studio this and that. I don't know. That's the thing I take from here. Oh, sorry. And again, I don't know with the deal that he just signed with Blumhouse if he's exclusive there. Could have still be making Warner Brothers pictures and stuff like that, but I think he's going to stick to doing his smaller stuff again because I could bet that he's over this. Chris Evans says, I might have missed it, but did you see the other people who've seen say that the majority of the FX weren't finished, making it more confusing? And that's I'm glad you brought that up. Like, that's where it comes down to, okay, so I'm a general audience member, right? And I get to see it a year early. Cool, I get to see Aquaman a year early. Show some of the behind the scenes footage and unfinished footage to a audience member who does not watch that stuff, is not associated with the stuff, not affiliated with, does not know how the process works. And I'm not saying, oh, I fucking know. No, I'm just saying, like, I know, okay, you could show me, like, when people are talking about the Snyder Cut and like, oh, it has this, but the effects are done. It's like, okay, I can imagine what that looks like. Some can't. So they go and see Aquaman and they see this and like, what the fuck is this? What's this green screen stuff? Why are their hairs in a bun? He's supposed to be like all these things, right? So there's so many factors to why this could go bad. All I can say is, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be the worst DC movie. I was going to say somewhat excited for it. I'm excited for it because it's one with the cast and crew, bigger role for Yaya. I like the idea of the brother relationship. Can I trust him? Can I not trust Orm to like help us with Black Manta? I'm excited to see what could happen. I like the first Aquaman a lot. Aquaman. I swear by a lot. I think at one point it was my favorite DCU movie because I just enjoyed it. As I've said, this was felt like a superhero version of Brendan Fraser's Mummy, just an action adventure, and he felt like he was our generation's Brendan Fraser. So I'm still excited. I'm ready. Most test screens have unfinished FX, I think. That's true, Superbad Mike, but the thing is just like think about this movie of like majority underwater, Black Manta, like everything, right? So lots of them do, but I just imagine that this one, because it's so heavy, how do you take that out, right? So it's very, very tough, but it's not that I'm worried because I don't have to worry. It's not my money or your money or anything like that. But I want the movie to be good. I want all these movies to be good so I can add another one. Like, oh, another good superhero movie. I can watch that. I think by time December, I trust one in the team at least to get us to 7 to 10 territory. But who knows? Maybe we see this movie and go, yeah, all these fucking reports were true. Big ass problem. So we'll see. We'll keep watching it. And yeah, if people walking out, that's not great, but that could be a bunch of things. There could be people that walk out of other movies that are great, right? So I would just say be cautious. Don't get caught up in it. It's still a long ways away. It's fun to talk about. That's why I have it as a main topic here, because it's a big it's just like Veer Non opened his mouth and then everybody fucking spewed what they're hearing. Probably from different people too. And that's where I will say, yeah, that's not good. Sometimes you might not know all these people, but if enough people tell you something, okay, there has to be something to it. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see come December. So let's take our second ad break, and we're gonna stay in the DC world and talk about some Joker. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So this is another one. As far as I didn't get to talk about it. They released that photo. So I got 3 things to talk about here. They released a photo of Lady Gaga as unnamed person right now, presumably Harley Quinn. Those are the rumors, right? And then the other thing that came out was Casey Walsh, and maybe there's 2. I think he put him out with both his accounts. That he had put out that 1, they're changing Harley Quinn's origins a little bit, and 2, that they're shooting multiple endings to the movie. So start with a picture. Looks like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker with paint. Looks like Lady Gaga regularly. It's not like a crazy picture, but what I like about it is it's getting the point across, right? She seems infatuated with this man. That's all you need when it comes to the Joker and Harley. Great. Oh, sorry, late here, but done. Works. It has the grimy feel. I like that we have in the paint. And not sure, the way that photo is framed, look like that could be something in her head, which goes into, hey, the rumor that he put out that Harley is going to be a peer and not a Arkham Asylum worker or psychiatrist or anything like that, right? He's gonna get in there. She's already in Arkham. I can't remember what they call the Arkham Institute or something, but already in Arkham, and that's where they're gonna fall in love. Which it's so funny because when I saw that photo, I thought that I should have tweeted it out to be hipster trash told you, but I was like, I wonder if she's just already in there. And then my mind was like, no, like they got to tell a story. Like that's kind of weird. She's already in there, and there you go. But that just jumps you to the good stuff you want to do. Man, am I disappointed by this news. Yeah, it's a bummer. Now, I trust Todd Phillips, trust Joaquin, trust the team. I think they'll make at least a good movie. I'm somebody that supports Joker 2 because people go, Joker 1 was better by itself. Then just watch Joker 2. Just watch Joker 1. Don't watch Joker 2. You don't have to. You can pretend where it ends. You don't have to do that. No one's forcing you to go see Joker 2, but people think as it comes, like, I have to see it unless it's your job or you like us doing a podcast, stuff like that. No, you don't have to see it. Choose what you want. Chris Evans says Harley as a patient. And that's where I feel like, again, GA, they're not going to care. They just know of Harley Quinn's crazy and she's in love with the Joker. Great, fine. For me, it's a little of a boring choice because I feel like it's what I said, right? Well, her as a patient, you just get to jump to the meeting and then being in love and crazy shit going down. I was looking forward to the subtext. I was looking forward to the idea of a Joker turning a Harley. And I know people always go, hey, how could this Joker turn Harley? He's weak. He's crazy. Or he's not all there and stuff like that. As I've said before, his cult-like status would raise him up to be like a celebrity. And I feel like he would, the way Harley kind of gets tricked by the Joker, he would trick her again here, but more so just the fact of I feel like she would fall for, hey, he is very hurt and emotionally compromised, and like start falling in love with him because she feels bad for him. And Chris Evans, I feel the exact same way. That's a safer choice, 100%. I think it's a more boring choice. Now, I'm disappointed in it, but I'm still going to wait till I see the movie and go, okay, I'm down with the choice. And at the end of the day, what we want to get to is them in love, right? I just was looking forward to that dynamic of the psychiatrist and Joker back and forth, the therapist, whatever you want to call it. I think it sucks because one of my biggest disappointments with Squad was in the promotional material they would show Leto and Robbie together in like a therapy session, stuff like that. But it's 5-10 seconds, so we didn't get that there. And then I was like, okay, this is great, we're gonna maybe get a new Joker in the DCU for Rainbow, but now we'll get our Joker 2 and we can jump into Mad Love and the relationship I wanted. And then it's like, no, rumors she's not a therapist. You go, oh shit. And I just really want to see that story. Like, I've seen it before, of course, the show, and Paul Dini wrote a comic book version and stuff like that, but like I'd love to have that dynamic. And who knows, maybe that is better for like a TV series or a show or something like that, right? To really dive into the characters. But I would love it on the big screen, and Joker 2 could get away with it, right? People aren't going to. I get with Suicide Squad where they're expecting a spectacle, maybe an action scene, stuff like that. It's like, okay, you don't want to do much of Margot being the therapist. That's fine. But Joker 2 was all about being sick and being a head case and, dealing with depression and stuff like that, right? So it's these things of, I feel like the audience is prepped for, hey, you could have a therapist having deep conversations with Harper. But no, that's not the route they're going. Superman Mike says, maybe she is pretending to be a patient to analyze better. Could be a twist. Yeah, could be. I just wonder if these scripts are putting out because they're starting to get like scripts and stuff like that. So that's where I'd say not likely. Maybe it's the other way, that she's a patient and starts to pretend to be a teacher or a therapist to meet him. But I don't know. And then the other thing that he had said about the multiple endings being shot, it's tough because I don't know if they're doing that for their benefit, and maybe they are. Maybe they just have a script and like, I don't know. I have 3 endings here. What do I like? Good, shoot them now. You can deal with them later and stuff like that. What's interesting about it is because Joker 1, I think, did that, or it storyboarded that, because I don't know if anyone remembers it, but Ken Smith talked about the original ending was Joker, where all the shit goes down, Joker's walking after the riots, and he's in the alley where the Waynes get shot, right? And then he looks over, sees young Bruce's brother, shoots him. And that, to me, was effective because, okay, that would set the no Batman, the no Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. And you don't even need to do that because you're not doing a sequel. But lo and behold, here we are. We're doing a sequel for Joker 2. But it's just to show that they've done this before. So whether you like the now ending or not, they've shot or had the idea of multiple endings for the first one. With this one, it makes sense. And even for spoilers, it makes sense. Just to kind of maybe keep it behind closed doors if it's something shocking and stuff like that. Or Chris Evans says, or she could be a doctor in her head during those scenes, but she's actually a patient. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, a musical scene, she believes she's a doctor. That didn't word that incorrectly. That's fair. In the musical scenes, thinking she's a doctor. Yeah, I could see that, like trying to help him, fix him, stuff like that. And they'll probably allude to that even in a dance number. She like throws on the costume and stuff like that. So yeah, I can see that. So I'm just happy we're getting Joker 2 news. The Harley thing is kind of like, meh, all right. I feel like you can do better. I wanted that version, but okay, I'm not getting that version, supposedly. So now I'm going to start checking my expectations at the doors. Or at least I will closer once I get there. Turn that off and go, okay, this is where we're going. Just give me a good story. Give me a good movie. And I'm down and stuff like that, right? So, and yeah, I liked the image. Multiple endings, sure, why not? I wonder if we'd see them on DVD or anything, or if it's just going to be, hey, they're lost in the ether, because sometimes they do that. Let's see. Superman says, or they could play around with this perspective, like his stay with Zazie Beetz in the first one, or his story. Sorry, yeah, and that's the thing, right? Where he could envision her a different way. You're gonna get very heady. You can do lots of things with Joker and Harley and stuff like that. Who I'm assuming, I hope they don't just change her name to, I don't know, like, I don't know. Haley Quinzel, because what is she? Is she already Harley Quinzel? Yeah, it'd be like Haley Quinny, and he'd be like, okay, it's not her name. Like, I just wonder because I don't know how comic book they want to be. So we'll see. That's still a long ways away, at least like probably next like October or something like that. So who knows? But that does it for the movie, TV news and stuff like that. So if you're not a wrestling fan, again, quickly talk about some Wrestlemania and AEW. So, where to start with Wrestlemania? You got everything's forming right now. Cody versus Roman, which they haven't come face to face yet. I'm very excited for that. Chamber was very well done. I get it that people It's so interesting with the Sami Zayn thing, right? Because I feel like I was prepared for him to lose, and I guess there's part of me that not want him to, but I want Cody to get his moment. I feel like he can be the next guys and stuff like that. You really build the company around. I do understand, and I agree that there's points of Sami Zayn that you can't do that with, right, from a marketable standpoint. But I think he can be a Mankind McFoley type, and I think hopefully he does win the title one day. And I know that's a big thing. People go, "Oh, they should have Montreal. Should have Montreal." I guess, but you're in a rock and hard place, right? Because people will bitch at you for, oh, well, we want long term booking, but then they'll book you for, well, this guy, why didn't you just give him the title? Well, it messes the plans. Yeah, but he's super hot. He is. I don't think Sammy's any less hot. Maybe just a little bit because that crowd can't be the same way as it was in Montreal. But um, I just wasn't prepared at all for Sammy to lose, so I was surprised, or to win. So I was surprised how many people were and just bummed. And again, this match they put on masterclass. I said this in a tweet, and it ended up being like that. I felt like I haven't had that main event feel for a non pay per view or even non big show since 2011 when Money in the Bank was CM Punk and John Cena. You know that's how long I felt like that. And then with this, it's funny, like it's in a similar situation, right? It's the hometowns, it's underdog stuff like that. The match, I hopefully I didn't say this, but just a masterclass between Sammy and Roman. The crowd, the story, everything. They used it to the full degree. Home run, home run. You can't get much better than that as far as matches. Now the ending was a little meh. The stuff with Jay, okay, he gets speared once and he's gone for a while. I didn't have much problem as other people, but I get the sentiment stuff like that. He didn't screw him over, just Roman beat him with a chair. They didn't do the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn reunion payoff, but they were already showing Raw that they're going to build up to that, right? Um, uh, Here's the difference, and I get it. Well, I get it, but so I was on Twitter. I shouldn't have been, but when the whole everyone loved Daniel Bryan. Royal Rumble time, Batista wins it, everyone's fucking pissed. I was there on Twitter, and you could see in person where the crowd was turning, and they didn't want anything but, and they were going to shit on that main event of Batista versus Randy Orton if they didn't get their way. And rightfully so, in my opinion, because it was like, what are you doing here? Daniel Bryan gets in, triple threat, great. People still have that theory that could happen, and sure, the problem is with people's theory is I see even online that I don't feel the outrage or see as many people active about it. And maybe that's just a Twitter age thing, right? That people have grown out of wrestling or this section of their life to be on Twitter to talk about. Sure. I think that it's just when that happened, everyone loved Daniel Bryan. Like I said, I felt like there's a stronger vibe, but okay, everyone loved Daniel Bryan. Batista just get booed. That's not happening with Cody. People are cheering Cody. I'm sure he'll get some boos at Mania. Maybe he'll get some boos along the way. People are still into Cody. People still like Cody. I think they want to see him wrestle. I think they want to see him wrestle Roman Reigns specifically. If you could add some sort of triple threat, sure, I could kind of be down. But then I feel like his moment kind of gets overshadowed again by, oh, Sammy didn't win again. You know, and I think the only way then you do that story is if Cody wins and it's like in a Healy way. I don't think he wants to do that for his first WWE title. So, but the match itself, Roman and Sammy, storytelling, masterclass, great stuff there. You have the women's division, so Asuka and Bianca. I was talking about with some people where I still just feel like the women's matches are so random right now. You know, like Rhea and Charlotte, which they've made sense of, hey, she hasn't beat Charlotte before, so that's why she wants it. Okay, fair. It just didn't feel like the natural progression of where we're going, and I just feel like Charlotte's not a strong enough babyface yet to cover that. Because I feel like you got to put. That's why I thought Rhea and Bianca was one is like the future of our division, so that's great to highlight them. And then two, it's just Bianca's very likable babyface. Charlotte's not really. I feel like the movie's general audience, people will cheer for her, but I don't know how they're gonna really support her. And I just feel like that crowd's gonna be full of Rhea Ripley. Oscar versus Bianca. I don't know what the story is going to be. I hope the story is just not Asuka acts weird until WrestleMania and Bianca doesn't know how to handle her. Who knows? But what I can feel is this, and I don't know if they probably wrestle like a Raw or something, but what I can feel is it's going to be a great match. So I don't know where the story is going to be, but I think the match is going to be great. Sorry, water break there. Then you got what are some other ones you got there? Obviously, Cody and Roman. There's some other fucking ones and stuff like that. I can't remember, but oh no, because I'm getting mixed up with the AEW pay per view. Let's see. Chris Evans says Cody versus Roman is carrying a huge main event feel, in my opinion. I think Sammy and Cody could have some excellent matches in the future. Yeah, and I think that Cody, I know in the past, been like, oh, I'm kind of done my heel days, but I think in WWE that will happen. That'll be on the table, and hell, make Sammy the one to beat Cody. But it does have that, and I think they have been smart. Like Cody talked about that on Raw, where hey, they haven't seen each other face to face yet, and there's not only the history of top WWE guy, AEW, right? Fuck the Roman Reigns, that was a thing. Friends with Dusty, they have had a match before, like as far as Shield versus the Rhodes brothers, whatever it was, right? Like all this stuff. Um, there's just tons of history, and I feel like it works. And I feel like somehow we will get Owens and Sammy versus the Usos. I think that works. Isn't it Howdy versus Bray? That's what I'm getting into. So there's this terrible. I didn't get to watch all of Raw. There's this terrible graphic going around because it's from Raw of almost challenging Brock Lesnar. Oh God, for WrestleMania. There, that's awful. That would be awful. And then I've heard some rumors going around, or some, I don't know if it was rumor speculation from other kind of podcast sources and stuff like that, that they're tinkering on doing it like the Hurt Business getting back together and a Brock and Bray and like Uncle Howdy team versing them. That sounds awful. None of that sounds good. Doesn't sound like a good way to use Brock. We all know the good way to use Brock. I know they might be saving it, whatever. It's Gunther. Brock and Gunther's the money way to go, but I don't know. I don't have much interest in Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. I didn't at the pay-per-view. I still don't hear. And this connection, I really don't. I feel like there's going to be some matches now that are being added because, well, we need to fill out the card, right? So I don't know. And then, yeah, Logan Paul and Seth Rollins, that's the other one. Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll put in a good like athletic clinic and stuff like that. Logan Paul is made of his business, but at the same time, he's kind of an asshole and has like a checkered past. So I don't need to be the best friends with the guy, but I can go say, hey, good match. You got to do this, this, and this. Like, if there's some entertainment value, great. So yeah, that was really it. I don't know what they're doing with some of the women this year, like Becky and Bayley. There's this back and forth about the tag titles and Lita and stuff like that. You got always Ronda Rousey kicking around. So we'll see. I feel like I said before, the return on investment not great on Ronda Rousey. So yeah, I think Raw, for what I saw, I only saw up until Cody, was a good show. But the Elimination Chamber is actually, I think, one of the better, if not the best pay-per-view under, or PPL, whatever it's called, Premium Live Event, PLE, that Triple H has done. I think he did a fantastic job there. With everything, the men's chamber, even Brock and Bobby, I think they kept it to like a reasonable amount. DQ finish, sure. I don't know. So we'll see. Yeah, probably the next time I talk about this will be WrestleMania time. I don't know if I'll do a WrestleMania predictions, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe it gets incorporated in something else. And then, so AEW, I know I have this in the topic, like, is AEW in trouble? That sounds very sky is falling, right? They literally announced a show tonight, a new show. They got 2 shows. I'm sure they'll get a TV deal. I think they'll be okay. I just meant in the sense that, and maybe this is more of a personal thing, where I hated when there were stories like Hangman and Kenny Omega, or Punk and MJF, or these great stories being told. Well, there's no stories, AEW. There's no stories. I would never agree with that, because you point out some of the best wrestling stories going on at the time. And other ones like Jungle Boy and Christian, stuff like that. I'm not saying that's the one all the time, but saying like they're forming everything, right? Oh, it's tough because I don't know if there's a great story right now with AEW. The Bucks and Kenny have, like, Kenny's literally said, hey, I'm doing 6-man tags and I'm having fun. That's fine, let him have fun. MJF and Bryan took an interesting turn this week, where MJF mentioned his engagement getting canceled or being taken off, or it's just off. That sucks. Sorry for you, dude. I know he used it for his character, and very good promo, very realistic promo, talking about Bryan's kids and stuff like that. I am looking very forward to the Iron Man match between Bryan and MJF. I'm a big fan of that. I know, and it's so funny because I'm not like a fan of like basketball, because I always say like, hey, you just gotta watch the last 5 minutes, right? And you could have that with Iron Man. But I think Iron Man, with people being in the ring for 60 minutes, to construct that match is always so interesting to me, and like what they're going to put in. And I think 2 personalities that like really fit, like, are like opposite, but do a good job of can get us to that hour point. So I'm excited for the pay-per-view. I just think the story is fine for that. And I think most stories right now are fine. It's just a lot of matches. It's a lot of like, you versus this guy, everything like that. And it's definitely, I hate to say it, the lowest I've probably been on AEW. And I feel like that's around for a lot of people right now. And I don't think that's just because WWE is killing it right now. For the most part, they still got issues. But if you look at that like rivalry between the two, they're on top right now. Again, and they've kind of technically always been on top, but at least with the fans, it's like AEW had this momentum. I feel like it's losing that momentum. I feel like stories are a big key to that. I feel like stars and not losing them are a big key to that, as far as not just the rumor we talk about with Kenny, but just like, and maybe shit happens. And I get people to talk about this before where, hey, the good thing with lots of death, you can have wrestler work for a while and then take 2 months off because there's people to cover him and he comes right back or she comes right back. I'm down for that. I just want a story reason. So when you get people like Hook super hot and he's just not on my Dynamite TV for weeks, I'm like, what the fuck happened? Same thing with Orange Cassidy. I don't watch all Dark and Elevation, all this stuff and everything. So it's just like, if they're not on the show, it just feels like they're just gone, missing, not being used. Do a fake injury angle, do an interview of saying they're giving some fake reason why they're gonna go and stuff like that. That's that to me is the best route. So you have AEW, like I said, stories not going too hot right now. WWE on roll. The big thing was with Rampage. And I'm gonna get back to Kenny because I said about keeping talent. Rampage last Friday did a 287,000 number, which is not good for wrestling. Not good. Um, yeah. So the case is usually that show is on at 10 p.m. And people have said before, Friday on 10 p.m. That's a death knell. That's a bad slot. And they've done some not great numbers. Punk came back, they hit 1 million, then there was another million, then they've dropped and dropped, and now it's 287 million. And it's been like escalated, right? Because that's not great numbers and stuff like that. That's really bad because the argument is, hey, they were on earlier. They're on 4 p.m. More people should check them out, but they didn't. And I feel Rampage has become a nothing show. I usually watch it when there's a match I want to see, like when the leader on there. I'll watch it. I don't know if I can watch it all the way through. That goes back and forth, but it's just become the restful skipping show. And I think with AEW, they need these stories and they just need to find something. Like, I just feel like even some of these stories, and I guess there is, and that's where it's like Jericho versus Ricky Starks is not a good story in my opinion. Like, give them a rematch, have this match. They are at, I think, the pay-per-view because it's Revolution. You got to have it there and stuff like that, right? So I think stories and like stuff like this big announcement. Okay, they didn't say major; they just said important announcement, right? Tony Khan announces that last week. Show goes on, they keep popping it, and I guess it's important to an extent. They announced that they are doing a pretty much AEW reality show, AEW All Access instead of All Out. He had Adam Cole come out, talk about it, announced his first match is going to be next Wednesday. They're going to be handling the production of this All Access show and everything like that. I hope for them doesn't turn like Total Divas where the cameras are on them 24/7. Obviously, Brian knows what that is, so maybe people can talk to him, but oh, good neck crack there. But I don't know why, if that's like a ratings ploy, if that's just he's spicing up. You don't need to do it. Just announce it. Just put out a press release. I feel like a lot of people, and I'm with people where technically it said an important announcement, not major. So I get it. I'm with people that go, hey, it's not, you shouldn't be expecting the world because uh, like it just was a minor thing, but still don't promote it. Just come out, say what it is, move on. Like, or promote it the night of even. But to let people speculate for a week when CM Punk is on the bench and other things going on, and even they could respond back with, "Oh, hey, we'll get back to you at another time," and all this jazz and everything like that. But I I don't know. It's very AW needs something, and what they need is not to lose Kenny Omega because that's apparently it's just a funny story too where Jay White's supposedly going to be a free agent. The story is that WWE's holding back because they might want to go after a bigger free agent. Not say it's Kenny Omega, but we would think it's Kenny Omega, right? Um, I, it's difficult for me to think of AEW without Kenny Omega. It's one of those things where Oh, and I forgot to mention. I think maybe I mentioned it. Maybe I'm getting tired. I forgot. But with the point as far as like the announcement stuff like that, I didn't think it was gonna be anything major because it was an important announcement, not a major announcement. It's near the end of the show where it's just kind of okay in a later hour. But on Twitter and other people's reactions and expectations, it's like, okay, you said you're gonna deliver this and you didn't deliver that. You could argue it's important, like development because you're gonna show and it has one of your superstars as a lead and everything like that. But obviously, not all people were happy with that. But yeah, Kenny Omega, non AEW, rumors contracts come up this year. I think a lot of these talents it's tough because you have to really wait to where WWE's at. If they're in the middle of the buy or purchase, maybe not the best. That can mess it up at the same time, right? It's one of these things where if they get a good suitor and Triple H is primarily running, those odds of Kenny going get much higher. But if it's the Saudi Arabia deal, some third party say, nah, it's not worth it because I'm sure he's still getting paid good enough, and I think he'll probably get paid good money when this contract's up, so Tony will keep him. There is part of me, of course, that like would like to see him in a Rumble, like to see him versus Roman, Seth, all these people and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I feel like you lose him, that's another big step, and the ratings will continue to drop. Because I also just like I've said before, I guess I was saying earlier, just some of their younger talent where it's like, okay, you're supposed to get this down and then build upon it, right? And I feel like sometimes they just forget. I feel like Tony Khan's really good at getting people hot and over, but don't know what to do once they are. And that's my worry with, you know, that's my worry overall here. That I feel, especially you have other people that are core, but you lose Cody. I feel like Kenny, and I do feel like wherever Kenny goes, the Bucks goes, and vice versa. That's losing a big chunk, and that's very tough. And I appreciated it with all these reports of, hey, there's a big power struggle between Punk and then Punk's side and the Elite and Kenny Omega. And to me, it looked like from his actions and what he had said and done that he's pretty much supporting Kenny and the Elite, right? Now, he may still want to work with Punk and get an apology or think, hey, no, actually, you're just good to go, come back. We'll figure it out as it goes along. But losing Kenny, that would be tough. Like I said, there's part of me that I want to stay in AEW till he retires. That's his company. There's something about it. But at the same time, it's on the downslope. And I could see why... I could see why maybe he wants to make that rush. He wants to try WrestleMania. Like Xavier Woods is there. He wants to try because this might be his last time to try, right? To be at this big state. Yeah, I really don't know what's gonna happen there. If I were a betting man, well, one, if I'm betting man, it just goes where the Bucks goes. But two, I would say he stays at AEW. That's what I think is gonna happen. I think he will stay. But I think WWE's gonna throw a lot of money. They said, hey, people have said, hey, they got a good relationship, all this jazz. Oh, we'll see. So that does it for Trash Told You for a little bit. Like I said, you'll get many bonus episodes, just one topic, Oscars, WrestleMania, stuff like that. Before the show, gonna take a little break to try and do some other stuff. And I really much appreciate everyone live chatting, being here so late. Appreciate everyone that listened after. I promise when you hear from me next, which will be a lot of time, but hear from a full-on Trash Told You, I'm assuming it'll be in May and it won't be boring. Thank you very much.